Greetings to you viewers from across the globe. You're welcome to the show Viewpoint, where we discover perspectives and embrace dialogue. I'm your host as always, Ajaero AI for Veegil Media. You will do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Veegil Media, and also follow us across social media platforms from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. And also, don't forget to download the app on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Now, moving on to the show of today, we will be talking about protecting the office of the NLC president. Now, when I mean protecting the office of the NLC president, I'm not talking about the wearing of anti-ballistic prevention apparatus, or probably maybe wearing a bulletproof vest, or probably maybe, getting involved in some kind or sort of estranged metaphysical activities to protect the NLC president. No, I'm actually talking about documented efforts in protecting the office of the NLC president. Because recently now we could see the brutalized NLC president, Joe Ajaero, who was actually maltreated, or would I say rough-handled, in some dehumanizing manner. Now, he's not the first to witness or encounter such fate. Others have also faced similar fates, from the likes of Adams Oshiomhole, which I'll be talking about beginning with this show, who is currently a serving senator, and other individuals who are not even actively involved in one form or sort of unionism. Now, to begin with, the Senator Adams Oshiomhole, representing Edo North Senatorial District. Oshiomhole revealed that he was once assaulted and detained by men of the Department of the State Services, the DSS, during his tenure as the president of the NLC, the Nigerian Labour Congress, between 1999 and 2007. Oshiomhole made this revelation in an interview on a television show earlier this week. Now, the former governor of Edo State was reacting to the recent brutalization of the president of the NLC, Joe Ajaero, in Imo State. Now, he had a similar experience while on his way to Delta State. I'm talking about Oshiomhole right now. He had a similar experience on his way to the airport in Delta State. Now, the then director of the SSS, State Security Services, ordered that he be arrested and prevented from traveling because they had given an ultimatum to the then federal government headed by President Olusegun Obasanjo. That was during the Obasanjo administration. Now, it's no news that unionism within Nigeria has been in each administration because of one particular issue or hitch or the other, particularly when it came to the issue of fuel. That is when you hear the Pengasins and the Nupengs coming in. Now, those unions which I just mentioned are actually under the NLC. Now, that's just a deviation now. According to Adams Oshiomhole, they dragged him to the tarmac, incurring cuts all over his body, and they forcefully prevented him from flying and took him back to the DSS Director General's office as at that time. Now, Oshiomhole was offered to be taken to their own hospital, but he turned down the offer, stating that, I quote, which he said, "I can't even trust a government that has inflicted this kind of wound on me to treat me. They might as well poison my blood." Now, these were the words of Oshiomhole as at that time when the DSS offered to take him to the hospital upon inflicting injuries upon him. Now, currently as we speak, investigations ordered by the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, into the beating and alleged assault on the current president of the NLC, Joe Ajaero, in Owerri, on the 1st of November 2023, is most instructive. I want to put it that way. Now, this investigation must be thorough to identify the perpetrators actually responsible and to sanction the individuals involved accordingly. Because frankly speaking, being the frontliner representing all workers in the nation, the meted ill treatment of Ajaero amounts to desecration of workers, and it must not be permitted to go unpunished because the maltreatment did not just appear as a minor encounter. The labor leader emerged from it brutalized, or permit me to say in my own language, or further, hospitalized, or comically speaking, with disfigured, distorted, or should I say on a milder note, contoured facial looks. We could see from images there now. Now, those images surfacing across the internet, Joe Ajaero's brutalization, actually speaks a lot. Now, this act has been committed. Who actually committed these acts, and why is it taking long to actually bring the culprits to book? Now, according to reports, the Labour leader had gone on invitation to the Imo State Council of Workers to lead a protest over alleged anti-Labour policies of the Hope Uzodinma administration, who has just been re-elected as Imo State governor. Now, according to the NLC, it had alerted all security agencies, which is the right thing to do. Now, these security agencies were informed of the upcoming protest. But as workers, unfortunately, arrived the council secretariat of the NLC venue for the protest, reports had it that they were rounded up by thugs and assaulted. The NLC president, Ajaero, claimed that he was arrested by the police and thereon handed over to thugs and was subsequently beaten up, blindfolded, and dragged onto the floor, taken to an unknown location where he was subjected to more dehumanizing torture. Now, these are claims which the police, I want to believe, has also heard. Now, how will they now respond to these alleged claims? Now, supposedly, allegedly, his phones and other personal effects were taken off him. He was later referred to the Federal Medical Center, Owerri, for, of course, treatments, scan, bruises, which is normal. You cannot encounter or face such dehumanizing fate and not expect to incur internal and external injuries. Now, to me, in my own opinion, this appears to be a circus going by the claims of the NLC president, because it's funny why a body saddled with the responsibility of upholding the law should delegate its responsibilities to thugs to met out, civic responsibilities. Let me put it that way. If actually Joe Ajaero had actually defied the laws concerning protests, that is when they ought to apprehend him. And not just apprehending him, it's wrong for you to hand him over to thugs if the claim is actually right. Now, in response to this claim by the NLC president, the police has come out, the Eastern Heartland in Imo State. They have denied the arrest, claiming the NLC president was only taken into protective custody so as to save him from a mob. Now, the assault is an affront on the rule of law and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of the country. It violates the rights to peaceful assembly and manifests a descent into an era of chaos and anarchy in dispensation that it is supposed to be a democratic and civil society. Now, that is actually condemnable in my own language. Let me put it that way. Now, if Ajaero and the workers actually violated any laws, they should be taken to the court of law. They should be tried, not to be addressed in such a crude and callous manner. Now, you took him into protective custody. I want to believe that the NLC president is still sane-minded not to tell lies against the police. Now, well, as far as I'm concerned, it's only the right of the police command in Imo State to clear its name so as not to smear the garments of the police force. Because that is just a section of the police force in Imo State. Now, for them to actually have done that, it's a total stain on the garment of the police force in entirety in the whole country. But I'm still of the opinion that investigation should also be ordered into the circumstances surrounding the alleged assault on the NLC president. The echelon of the police force should take over the matter with primary objective of ascertaining the true facts surrounding the incident and to address any obscurities that may exist in the police, which, of course, has been fed with various versions of the incident. Now, making investigations imperative to clear the conflicting accounts. The Nigerian police force, on its own part, should further understand the sacrosanct of transparency and accountability in winning the trust of the whole public. Now, the IG of the police, the Inspector General, should therefore, who I want to believe is in the upper echelon, of course, should therefore assure the public, most especially the leadership and of the organized labor, because they are the ones directly affected, that a thorough and unbiased investigation should be conducted to provide clarifications. These investigations must be carried out swiftly, before the trails get iced. Because once they are iced, I mean, it's, I would say it's become archived. And dust begins to settle on it, and it's been covered by dust and molds of over the years, and it's not visited. People just go about wasting saliva over the same topical issue, but yet still fingers are not lifted to address the issue. Now that's another food for thought we need to wine and dine about in our brains. Citizens have a right also to peaceful assembly, which is in any majority rule system of government. And that is the best law enforcement. That is the best any law enforcement can do, of course, to ensure such as assemblies, protests are civil and peaceful, not to deny the exercise of fundamental human rights. Because denial of the fundamental human rights, it's an infringement or, defilement of my own rights to express myself. Now, in conducting its investigation, the police will do well to consider the role, if any, of alleged partisanship in the whole saga. Now, if there's any form of partisanship, that's another issue also. The police might not necessarily be at fault, because a case is never right until you've heard the other side. Now, we have two parties now involved in the whole matter. The NLC and the police force. Now, coming back now to the governor of Imo State, whether we like it or not, Imo State currently is his house. Yes, he's been re-elected as governor. This particular incident took place in his domain. Now, although the incumbent governor who has been re-elected, Hope Uzodinma, he has expressed regrets over the incident because it happened in his state, which I began by saying. Happening in his domain. Now, it happened at a time when he was not present in the state. And of course, considering the tasking and demanding period, which was the off-cycle elections, he nevertheless believed that Ajaero could have conducted the NLC's protest more decently. Moreover, as the governor was not confronted with the allegations of non-payment of salary of Imo workers. Indeed, also, he emphasized that his government was not owing any worker in the states. He wondered if the NLC president was not tactically engaging in electioneering campaigns under the camouflage of the workers' unionism. Now, that's another angle for one to look at, but it is just a suspicion. Now, this allegation is certainly weighty in my own view, because workers under the umbrella of the NLC do belong to various political parties. We must be frank about that, which is of their choice anyway. And where the leadership is partisan, friction becomes a possibility. If we look at it, it makes common sense. Now, but it still cannot justify the assault on the NLC president. Now, this is a problem, because there will be room for you to begin to showcase some form of sentiment. Now, opinions naturally, which are divided on how far the NLC can support the activities of political parties, is another question, because the NLC floated the Labour Party, and some hold the opinion that the workers' body should remain politically neutral, since it belongs to all workers who may be adherents of political persuasions other than the ideology of Labour. Now, it's one thing for you to be actively involved in unionism, and it's another thing for you to be actively involved in political parties. They are two different ideologies. Now, it is alleged that Ajaero belongs to the Labour Party, who is the NLC president, and is using the Labour movement to pursue the manifesto of the Labour Party. How far and how true these claims are, we begin to see some kind of truth in it from the alleged claim of the Imo State governor. Now, though Ajaero has denied belonging to any political party, that has not impaired the sentiment that workers' body is unfriendly with the government because of the NLC and the Labour Party are one and the same, which is, of course, their brothers and sisters. Now, globally speaking, Labour parties belong to workers and are floated to promote the interests of workers. In those climates, other members of the civil societies may share in Labour's quest to form a government and execute programs which are worker-friendly. Now, some workers may also favor the political parties or ideological groups of their policies. What is of the utmost importance is that voting is strictly a personal choice. No worker or anyone should be forced to vote against their conscience, and that is key. Because where voting actually exists, it means that there are ingredients of democracy where you have freedom, but the freedom shouldn't also be abused. Moving on, to avoid conflicts of interest, the NLC. Now, this is a follow-up to the instance I have given. Labour parties belong to workers and are floated to promote the interests of workers. Now, in those climates, other members of the civil society may share in Labour's quest to form a government and execute programs which are worker-friendly. Some workers may also favor other political parties and their policies. What is of utmost importance is that voting is strictly a personal choice. No worker or anyone should be forced to vote against their conscience. And that is key in any democratic setting, knowing that voting is an ingredient for a majority rule system of government. Moving on, to avoid any conflict of interest. Now, this is to the NLC, citing the instance from other climates where Labour parties are actively involved in politics, but they make sure that is a total knowledgeable difference concerning unionism and partisan politics. The NLC must manage the affairs of workers distinctively from the political agenda of their party, which is the Labour Party. Let the Secretariat of the Labour Party clearly take on matters that are strictly political, while the NLC takes up Labour matters. As democracy evolves, a clear separation is desirable without limiting the rights of workers to float or own a party, while the individual workers decide their political preferences. On law enforcement, now this is coming to the police and the chief executive. They should closely look at the reality of the nation's internal insecurity or securities, actually, to align it with the renewed hope vision. Now, this renewed hope, now satirically speaking, now I'm not just restricting it now to Imo State. I'm talking about Nigeria now in totality. Now, security deployment should not be at the behest of certain political office holders to the detriment of the opposition. Security should be available to every citizen, irrespective of political affiliations. And the police should not also be seen to be partisan or subservient to authorities that be. That's my own suggestion, opinion, and I want to believe it should be bought into. I'm Ajaero AI for Veegil Media, and the show is Viewpoint, where we discover perspectives and embrace dialogue. You will do well to visit our channel on the YouTube platform by subscribing to our channel, and also visit us across our various social media platforms. Download the app on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Thanks for watching.